a six pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dash Nerds podcast. Grab a six pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dash Nerds podcast. Grab a six pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dash Nerds podcast. Grab a six pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dash Nerds podcast. Sit back and back and back and grab a six pack, sit back and back and back and grab a six pack, sit back and back and back and grab a six pack, sit back and back and back and grab a six pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dash Nerds podcast. Grab a six pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dash Nerds podcast. Grab a six pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dash Nerds podcast. Grab a six pack, sit back and prepare to laugh.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 199 of the Drunk Dash Nerds podcast. I'm your host, as always. I am Tyler. And joining me, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself. We have the Colonel. We have Gables. What's up, buddy?
I have a Switch!
Yeah! Like a light switch? You got a light switch? You got a new one in your house?
Oh, you very well damn know what I mean. I got a fucking Nintendo Switch today.
How much did you pay for it on eBay?
Oh man, I did not even remotely wanted to touch the eBay stuff. I have been constantly searching. I was constantly searching online for the past month to see if I could find a decent Switch bundle. But honestly, I could not find shit because people wanted way too much for that device. At one point, I kept seeing like random scumbag sellers that would be selling the damn thing for like $1,500 for the fucking like not only for the console but also for the Zelda games, like the Master Edition, all the amiibos, everything else with it and stuff. But no, I ended up getting mine today at Walmart. They actually got a new shipment. The supervisor that I talked to after like the whole debacle from earlier on this month actually gave me a phone call. They had one set aside for me. She brought it up to the customer service counter, and I paid for that system and went out the store. And I'll tell you what. It felt pretty fucking good.
Could imagine.
Well, yeah, it's like I have been obsessing about this console a better part of the month. I really did not want to invest any other type of games or anything else until I got that Switch. So
understandable.
I'm kind of glad I stuck to my guns. I did this, I did that and stuff. But not only did I get the Switch, but I got the Pro Controller and the rechargeable charge grip. So everything else I'm pretty much set on, except for, I ended up finding out earlier tonight, the SD card. I'm going to have to go and take a trip to GameStop in order to make sure I got my micro SD card, because they gave me a $40 fucking piece of cardboard, and I am livid.
The display unit?
Yeah, the display unit. I gave the dude the display unit, and I guess he must have just gave it right back to me or something without even realizing it, because I don't have a micro SD card. I mean, yeah, the thing has an internally like 26 available gigabytes and stuff, but this is a $40 freaking memory card for like 64 gigs. I need that thing.
Gables, I would just get one on Amazon, because I got the 64 gigabyte one for $17 on there.
Really?
Yeah, so I would just do that and like pay the $4 for shipping, and you'll get the same size, or if not close to it or more, for like half the price.
I could do that. Or I could just do it. I could also do it based on principle and stuff like that, and just shove that to their face, like, hey, you gave me the display thing for $40. I did not just waste money on that shit just in order for you just to give me a fucking piece of cardboard. What the hell are you trying to do? Steal something from the dumpster and sell it for $40? Come on.
I would rather have that piece of cardboard, $40 piece of cardboard, though, than 1-2 Switch. So.
Well, I wouldn't know. I haven't played that game, but I don't want to.
I don't either.
But I'm good.
But yeah, that's good. But we have a man here that has played 1-2 Switch. His name is Troy. What's up, buddy?
Haters! 1-2 Switch is a fine game. It's a good multiplayer game, and it's a great demonstration of HD Rumble.
Fucking 1-2 Switch fanboy over there. Look at
I mean, it's not an amazing game, but
I know.
Did I get to tell the story about the guy in class?
No.
Did I tell that on this show?
Yeah. I think you said they told us last week.
Yeah, like that's kind of an amazing opportunity to be able to like show somebody like, hey, does the controller vibrate? Here, let me show you this. Yeah, it was the whole my beer moment. I remember that. Yeah, that was good times. Yeah, I've actually not been able to play my Switch for like 3 days now, and I won't be able to play it again until Monday. So yeah, I sent my left Joy-Con off to Nintendo to get repaired. So Tuesday I saw online the CNET article from CNET. I don't know who wrote it, but he sent off his controller to Nintendo, basically called their customer service line and sent it off to have it repaired, and they did it, no questions asked. So the very next day, Wednesday, I decided to go ahead and do that myself. So I called them bright and early, probably around 9 or 10 in the morning. Talked to the customer service agent, got directly connected to him. Didn't have to jump through hoops. You know, we usually call some hotline. You got to, yell at the computer that you want to talk to an operator because it can't understand you anyway. But I got connected directly to a customer service representative who was super nice and super cordial. He kind of walked me through all the steps, the checklist of things that Nintendo has. Well, is it next to an aquarium? Do you have it next to a bundle of wires? Do you have direct line of sight to your console? Is it not hidden behind your television? Stuff like that. And I was like, yes, no. I understand the issues, and I am not having the issues, regardless of this litany of things. It's like, okay, well, it sounds like you qualify for repair. So let me get you set up. He got my email. I got emailed a shipping label. It was actually a 2-day next day air shipping label from UPS. So I printed that off, put my left Joy-Con in a box, kissed it goodbye, put a little note in it, wishing it well, some snacks, whatnot, sealed it up, took it to UPS, dropped it off Wednesday afternoon, probably around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. As we record on Saturday, so yesterday morning, I got the email confirmation from Nintendo that they had gotten my Switch, and it was in great shape, and it hadn't gained too much weight on the trip, even though it had all those extra snacks. But they had it, and it was in their possession, and they were going to begin the repair process. So I was like, cool, that's a pretty good turnaround, Wednesday evening to Friday morning. Then yesterday afternoon around 4 p.m., I get another email saying, hey, we fixed your Joy-Con, and it's on its way back. Here's the tracking number. I was like, wow, that's really good turnaround. So I, go in, and this morning I checked the tracking number, and it had actually made it from California to New Mexico overnight. It's actually sitting in my city right now. The only problem is UPS doesn't deliver on Saturdays here, so I have to wait until Monday till it's delivered. But I mean, we're talking Wednesday afternoon to Saturday morning. Basically, was the turnaround time of it leaving New Mexico, going to California, getting repaired, and returning back to New Mexico. Needless to say, I'm super pleased with Nintendo's customer service. Everything about this entire interaction was nothing but cordial, and that turnaround time, you just really can't be beat. I imagine if I had actually done the return on Tuesday and got it in the mail on Tuesday, I would have gotten it yesterday, which is literally less than a week turnaround time, which is pretty impressive. So provided that my Joy-Con is actually fixed when I get it, which I have no reason to believe that it won't be, I am nothing but super satisfied with Nintendo's handling of this whole left Joy-Con issue.
That's cool. That sucks that one day, can you not go to the UPS store and pick it up there or not or anything?
So when I lived in Roswell, I actually had the connection. I actually knew a guy who worked for UPS, and I would routinely go down to the warehouse and actually be able to pick up the packages there. But I don't have such a connection here in Las Cruces, so it's not a big deal. I actually busted out my Vita and played it in the meantime. I have no shortage of places to play video games, even though I'm jonesing for some Legend of Zelda. I have plenty of stuff to play to keep me occupied. So I will survive until Monday. But I mean, from what I understand, the fix is actually relatively simple. I don't know if you guys read the article, but it's basically a little piece of conductive foam that they stick on the circuit board, on the top side of the circuit board, next to the little metal box that we've had this discussion before. But that's the problem with these Joy-Cons, is that the antenna for them is printed on the circuit board, and it goes down instead of up, and in the bottom corner on the left Joy-Con there's a little metal box that kind of interferes with that. So this conductive foam basically keeps that from being interfered. The guy from CNET said that it fixed his problem, no questions asked. So I have no reason to believe that mine wouldn't be the same. Also, another thing that came out of that whole thing, I think Kotaku was able to get a hold of Nintendo to find out even more details about it, but apparently they had two different suppliers for the circuit boards for the Joy-Cons. And so one supplier was the ones who had issues with their circuit boards. And then a lot of people aren't having this issue, and they're reporting, well, I'm not having a problem with it. That's because those circuit boards actually came from another supplier. So only if your Joy-Con happen to have one of the circuit boards from this first supplier are you likely to run into this issue. So, it's actually not as widespread as originally thought, and also the Nintendo has said that they have taken care of the problem at the source. So any Joy-Cons that have been produced and or released subsequently should be perfectly fine.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's good for Gables then.
it's good for me and not.
Oh, it's good for everybody, because I mean, even if his ends up being one of the defective ones, he can easily send it off to get it fixed for free, and it said less than a week turnaround. And he's got the benefit of he bought a Pro controller. I don't have a Pro controller. I rely solely on my Joy-Con. So the fact that I don't have the Pro controller, I've been without my Switch for 3 or 4 days. But I mean, if he needs to ship it off, that it's not going to be a huge inconvenience for him. I mean, it's going to suck to be without his Joy-Con for a little while, but the peace of mind of knowing that you have a properly working Joy-Con and it was fixed free of charge, I think is a really good thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing the right thing, so, which is good. They're eating the cost on something they messed up. Most, like you talked about at the time, like when Apple screwed up with the iPhone 4, it's like, well, don't use it that way. Yeah. So, and I'm glad they're doing the right thing. Very cool. That sucks. So you're missing the Splatfest.
Oh yeah, that was the thing. Yeah, once I shipped it off, and then literally a few hours later, I see the tweets about, oh, the Splatfest is this weekend. I was like, oh, damn, yeah. I guess I chose the wrong time to send that thing in. But I was actually expecting not to get my Joy-Con until the middle of next week. So the fact that it's coming back as quickly as it is good, but yet still not quick enough to participate in the Splatfest.
Yeah, I tried to participate earlier today, this Saturday. And I spent about 20. I was able to do the tutorial and get through that, which is almost literally the same tutorial that was in the Splatfest for the first Splatoon game, and was never able to connect to an actual game. I spent 20-30 minutes trying to do that, and no luck. I try to load it in and say it's getting loading into a game, and then it just say unable to connect. So I gave up and went back to Zelda. But very cool. Well, you guys want... So this week, it's going to be kind of a weird week. We're going to do what we've been playing like normal, but as far as there's no real news going on this week. A couple little things, but not really to talk about. So we thought it'd be fun to do some just video game related questions that we're going to do. We're going to do that after we do the what we've been playing, which I guess we can jump into now. I should probably just did that first. But I'm all over the place. But Gables, what have you been playing? Not including the last hour when you got your Switch.
Well, I dabbled.
Or including the last hour. I mean, we want to hear about what you've been doing the last hour.
That's true. I don't. I saw the unboxing video, and he was getting a little randy. I don't know if I want to know what happened last hour.
Well, anyway, I didn't really get a chance to play anything on the Switch, so there goes that little thing. But I did manage to go through and dabble a little bit with Peggle 2 on the PS4, which the game is really fun. It's still fucking fun. I mean, it's the same as the original Peggle, obviously, but other than that, there's new characters, new powers and stuff. There's not much to say. It's like a ball-breaking sort of a game and stuff where you just go through and just get the orange Peggles and stuff and then just collect it all and get to the little goal and stuff. I actually managed to blaze through that game. I am on the little cosmic courses right now, but quintessentially, I've beaten the game, I think. But,
So you break your balls through this game? See, I don't know if you've seen my Twitter, but my actual part of my Twitter quote is the quote from Scarface, where all I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. So I'm sorry, Peggle 2, but I'm not going to be breaking my balls for you.
Is this like Marriage, the video game, the ball breaker game? Is that what this is?
I don't think so.
Sorry to interrupt, but that was just too easy.
Yeah, I know.
What else you been playing?
Well, let's see. The Xbox One, I powered on and I wanted to try to play something different. I mean, I tried playing a little bit of Saints Row 4, though, but it was just mostly me going through the overworld, collecting a little bit of the random shards, just taking out a couple enemy, alien bases and stuff, but It's still a load of fun just to go through and just randomly just use super speed and all of a sudden do these random like wrestling moves on the aliens, like bulldogs and fucking suplexes and like all this other shit. And that's cool and all, but I went through and I started to play Killer Instinct 2, which was a part of like the actual Killer Instinct Xbox One game and stuff that you would actually get for free from, I think, Season 2, I think it was, or possibly Season 3, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I never played that because it was an arcade-only type of game, and they had it on, had it for, like, download for free, so I went through the campaign of it as Jago, and my gosh, it was really difficult even on the normal mode. I mean, difficult as in the AI pretty much go through and they can just hit a couple of like various combos and stuff with hardly little effort and stuff. The one downfall I could say is I haven't really found any type of training mode, where I could just go through and practice certain combos and so on and so forth. It's just basically you're in the game and stuff in the arcade mode, you have to pretty much figure it out on the fly, and well, that's sort of a kind of a bad thing for me in fighting games, because I like to practice my combos, make sure I get good enough to where I can go through comparably, like on the normal difficulty through the arcade mode. But the good part is I managed to go through it as Jago and try to defeat guys like Gargos and stuff like that. That was just a pain in the ass. I mean, literally, I was on characters like Gargos and like Glacia or whatever the hell his name is for a better part of like 10 or 15 minutes because of it's just because of like random combo throwing stuff. I mean, I'm okay when it comes to playing as Jago and stuff like that, but when it comes to the actual combo sort of moves and stuff, I'm not really as used to it. But other than that, though, that's pretty much what I've been playing. Just little bits here and there.
Well, very cool. I'm excited for next week for you to play Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I know you've been wanting to play that for like a month now. Probably more than a month. But
yeah.
Especially since it came out. Since you actually owned it for like a month, but I haven't been able to play it. But Troy.
Yes.
My friend. Since you don't have you really haven't on your Switch most of the week, what have you been up to?
I actually did get to play some Zelda a couple of evenings this week. It's spring break for me now, so I've actually kind of found some time to play some games. Things have been kind of rough, trying to get ready for graduation. So as I go back to school next week, I've got 7 weeks until graduation. On top of that, I foolishly allowed one of my grades to slip from an A to a B. Which has kind of got me distraught because I'm striving very hard to finish with a 4.0 GPA. So I've got to work my butt off for the next 7 weeks trying to recover from that mistake. But I did get to play some Zelda. We were talking a little bit before we started recording, but I probably have all told maybe about 40 hours in the game. And I've literally done next to nothing to advance the story. Like, I'm just wandering the countryside, kind of, discovering things, finding Korok seeds and shrines and... Whoa. I have no idea what that was.
Everybody okay?
Yeah, I think so. It was just a big thud.
That was.
Let me go find out what that was real quick, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, you're fine.
All right.
One of the hostages must have escaped. Okay. Gables? I don't know what to do, guys. I don't know how to record by myself. There's nobody here. What? Sometimes when no one's around, I ask myself, what would Gables do?
Sorry, guys, I'm back.
You're right.
Okay.
You're good.
So, where was I? I was talking about shrines and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I've been really enjoying exploring the wilderness and everything in Zelda, just kind of coming across things, super interesting stuff. The shrines are great. They're almost like, I think we were talking once again before recording, but they're a lot like test chambers in Portal, where you've got kind of individual little things that you got to go and figure out the puzzle and the secret to knocking out that particular shrine, which is pretty dope. Other than that, after I sent off my left Joy-Con. I decided on Thursday to try and get back into streaming because I hadn't done it since before I left to PAX. So on Thursday I was like, I'll stream some. It's actually a really bad decision. We had a pretty wicked windstorm in New Mexico on that day, like 60, 70 mile an hour winds.
Damn.
And that had a negative impact on my internet. Like my internet is normally, I usually get about 13 megs download, and it usually hovers around 1 meg upload, which isn't great. So I normally adjust my streaming bandwidth down to compensate for that. And then also to compensate for that, I usually stream older games, like when I was streaming Final Fantasy and stuff like that. But so I decided to take a chance and stream some Forza Horizon. So I was playing Forza Horizon 3, which was okay, except that my internet speed was so crap. I had brought my my Xbox upstairs and hooked it up to my capture card and was running it on my PC and all that, but it was dropping frames like crazy. So I decided instead to take the Xbox back downstairs, because normally when it's connected downstairs, it's connected hardwired into the modem, into the router. So I'm thinking the speeds are going to be better there. So I just I streamed it from the built-in Twitch app and the Kinect camera, which worked out a little bit better for me, but it still wasn't great. Like the image quality was real crap, real Minecrafty, as my daughter would say. So I didn't have a lot of people watching me. It was kind of unfortunate, kind of a bad time to try and jump back into streaming. But I still enjoyed my time with Forza Horizon. That's an amazing game series I really enjoy, and it was good to jump back into that after it's been months since I last played it. And then also on my Vita, I started playing Hyperdimension Neptunia, kind of a little JRPG that's got cute anime girls, but it's based off of the console wars. So these anime girls basically take the form of these goddesses that represent all the different consoles. You've got the Microsoft, the PlayStation, the Nintendo, and also Sega. So like the main character, her name is Neptune, which is actually, I think, was the code word for one of the Sega consoles, maybe Dreamcast, if I'm not mistaken. But
yeah, I believe you're right.
Yeah, I'm not too far.
I think they're always named after planets like Saturn and everything. So
yeah, so I'm not too far into it, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I kind of am a sucker for cute anime girls, and then the idea of all the in jokes with the video game console wars and stuff like that. Like it seems like it's going to be pretty good for me to play, but I haven't gotten too far into it. But that's pretty much all I've been playing.
Well, very cool. I have kind of been all over the map a little bit this week, so I don't really know how I'm going to do all this. I started off by saying I talked a little bit about Horizon last week, where I was just kind of roaming the world. I was only about a third of the way through the main campaign. I actually ended up finishing that on Tuesday night. The big reason for that is I love the game, and I think I put like the final, like they have like when you save it tells you the time, which I always love when games do that. When you save and it tells you how much time you put into the game. I think that should be like a law that every game must do that. But anyways, yeah, I put like 27, 28 hours into it when I was all said and done. And it's a game I don't feel like I'm anywhere close to done with. The only reason I finished it was just because I wanted to be done with it because Mass Effect was coming out. But anyways, they kind of like... So I spent most of last weekend and most of Sunday, really... just going through the main story, and really you could probably beat the main story. I think if you just did the main quest, you might do a little grinding because they do tell you like levels that they recommend you should be at, but you could probably beat it in like 10 hours or so. I think there's like 21 or so story missions, but I think as great as the gameplay is and the combat and everything, I think the story actually is better, which I didn't think that'd be possible. I really enjoyed, like something I talked about before the game even came out. Like I was really intrigued with the world and how we got to this point, and I had theories, and I think some of it is kind of obvious to what caused it, but kind of like when you get further into the story and like there's some side quests you can do, like or areas that you can just find these like caverns that take you to the old worlds, what they call it, and they're underground, and like you can learn things about, and you find all these. basically like video diaries, and people will talk and do basically recordings and like video diaries, basically to tell you what's going on. Like, but they're very vague about it. They don't tell you a lot, but they kind of give you like little clues and things like that about what's going on with the world. And at the time, like 1,000 years before that. But I thought just kind of discovering and learning what happened and everything like that is really cool. I like that, and some of it a lot of it I figured out before they revealed it, but I still thought learning it, some of the twists in there still was effective, even though I kind of figured it out. And I thought the main boss and all that was really cool too. Like this game, the final boss in this game is actually really cool. Like in a world, like in a video game world nowadays, where I don't feel like there's a lot of good boss fights in like the AAA market. This is definitely one that kind of reminds me of like the generation of old, like PS2, Xbox era, where like I feel like that was like the last of like really great resolutions to games, like last boss battle wise. But it was difficult. It was something they built up to for a long time. So it was like as an enemy you've seen before, but you really haven't fought him in this way. So I thought all of that worked out really well. And what I loved about it too was like in a lot of open world games, you start off and you feel like you're just shooting like a fucking like nothing weapons, like you're just throwing rocks at enemies. And by the end of it, I feel like a badass, which I always love that about games, where you kind of start from the bottom and now you're here to I believe Drake, which hopefully I never do that again in my entire life. As a first. But yeah, no, I love the entire aspect of the game. Aloy, I think, is a great character. The characters in the game were really, all the other side characters in the game were really cool. But like I said, I kind of raced through it just to get because of Mass Effect. But I feel like if Mass Effect wasn't here, that I would have, I probably would be at the same point story wise to where I was. Because I just love exploring the world. And I looked at the map when I beat the game, and I still haven't even explored about a third of the map.
Damn.
Yeah. So, and it's not like. It's not like it's not the biggest world I've ever seen like in a game. Like there's definitely bigger open worlds out there, but I love the fact that the world, like too many open world games, like they have like the side quests and like the collectible shit, it just kind of feels like tacked on, just like we need to fill shit in here. And I don't feel like the side quests and the collectible things whatever, but like the side quests, I feel like there's a reason behind them. They don't feel like just stupid random fetch quest bullshit. Like if there's a reason behind it, I think there's a decent story behind most of them. And the world doesn't feel empty. Like there's always something going on. And I love that about it. Like there's like around every corner there's something. Sometimes it can be a little annoying if you're just trying to like get to a point. Sometimes, and you're like oh shit, there's fucking 2 Thunderjaws right there, and those fuckers ain't no joke. And that's another thing I want to mention. Like some of the fight, even as strong as I got, like you face some, like I was killing like some of the weaker guys, but like some of the bigger ones, like the Thunderjaws and a couple other guys, I can't remember what they're called, but there's these ones that have like these giant like in the backs, like these they shoot flames out, and you can shoot the back and you like all the like, flames start shooting out of it. Like all those big huge guys, like every fight was epic. I love that. Like there was like I was like so like focused in on every single battle, like whereas like there was like no wasted motion. Like it was like Dark Souls-esque. I feel like, even though I don't like those games, but like it wasn't like hard like that game, but it was at the same time like every time you defeated one, you felt like you accomplished something, and I like that about that game is that every battle there was a bit of a challenge to it, and I thought that was cool, but still felt like a badass at the same time. So great game. Kind of rambled all over the place with that, but there's a lot of good things about it, and I really don't have too many negatives really at all to say about it. And if the negatives I do have are nitpicky, but yeah, great, easily the best game I played this year, and what has been a strong first few months of the year. So
that's not the first time in the last 2 hours I've heard almost that exact same description of the game. You know, there are a few problems, but they're all nitpicky. Like there's definitely more good than bad. I definitely look forward to playing this game for sure. Everything I've heard of it sounds amazing. I just don't have the time to put into it right now.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like basically for me it's like as a game, like it took what free time I did have, it took it from me for the last couple weeks. So Kind of jumping into the next thing. But I was mentioning Mass Effect came out, Andromeda. Only played the first few hours of it. I basically beat the first mission that you start off with is mainly a tutorial setting up the characters and what's going to be the main story and the main quest of the game. But the gameplay is fine. It's not there's been a lot of reports out there about the story isn't very good and the characters aren't very good, and I really haven't got that deep into it, but you could definitely tell the writer, at least the son, I think his name's Scott. He's just a face you want to punch, which I don't think is really good. But it's like he reminds me of that douchey guy in high school, and then we all know a douchey guy in high school that you just want to walk up and just punch him in the face. And he has that, and he has this he's trying to grow a beard, but he's super young, or he thinks he's cool because he can grow some facial hair, a little tiny bit. It's all patchy and shitty. And I just want to punch him really fucking hard. I don't know why, but it's not good when he's the main character and you're setting this up for a trilogy, which it seems like they're doing. Not a good thing. But anyways, other than that, I feel the combat is really good so far. It seems like they have kind of stepped it up from Mass Effect 3, where Mass Effect 3 at that point was basically Gears of War with some biotics, powers and shit. But that felt fine in the couple hours of that, but the main story so far has not kind of captured me like I thought Mass Effect 1 got me, just like that after the first mission. This has not got me at all. And there's been a lot of bugs. At one point I actually paused the game and I was reading some they have a lot of journals and stuff you can read. And I was trying I want to know about why we're here, because it just starts off with you 634. They've been in stasis for 634 years, and they get to Andromeda and it wakes up, and that's how it starts. And doesn't really, you get a little bit of backstory from as they're getting ready to go to this planet. But I'm I want to know more about it. That's one of the things I love most about the Mass Effect games. That was one of the rare games that actually go in and read the journal entries and learn all about the characters, what they were like before they were introduced, and the world you're going to, and why we're going to Andromeda. And after about 2 minutes of reading some of the journal entries, all of a sudden I get a game over kind of thing, and it's you're dead, and I'm what? So basically the game, after 2 minutes of being in the pause screen, actually started actively happening again, and some enemies came and killed my guy while I'm in the pause menu.
Huh? Yeah, that sucks.
So that happened. Yeah. So I'm okay, whatever. I know there's some bugs there, and then a few times where there's another point where I actually paused and came back and my character wouldn't move. I could move the camera around, but I couldn't move him, so I had to actually back out of the game, go back into it, and start over again. And then it happened to me again but I wasn't paused. I was just running around, and all of a sudden I just couldn't move anymore. But all my other characters were moving around still. My group members. So this game's got some problems. That's only the first couple hours. And I've already had to restart the game twice, 3 times. You include the time that I got killed for no reason. So I'm jumped back into Zelda. I'm not going to talk about too much because I've only played it for a few hours. But I think my plan was to go through Horizon, and then go through Mass Effect, and then finally go through Zelda. But I kind of want to wait on Mass Effect because it's just at this point it's a couple hours in and it's that buggy. A lot of problems. Maybe in a few weeks, if I'm done with Zelda, say in a few weeks, then hopefully there's some patches in there and make it run a little better. I don't know. But I feel like I'm just going to go back to Zelda now and let Mass Effect sit, which sucks because I've been looking forward to this game for 5 years, basically.
Maybe jump back into Horizon and do some more exploring.
Yeah, maybe that could be the case, but I also have Danganronpa 1 and 2 sitting here. Don't want to play. Final Fantasy 15 sitting there. Resident Evil 7 sitting there. So I got a lot of shit to play. So it might just end up being a game I get to, and after those games, I don't know. Maybe by May or June or something like that, or late April, whatever it could be. There's some patches in there and makes it run a lot better. But I'm definitely gonna wait because, like I said, the story isn't really capturing me anyways. And then the deal with I don't really want to fight a game that's got a lot of bugs in it as well when I have a plethora of other games to be playing.
Yeah, I think I tweeted out something about that because everyone was freaking out about the 7 out of 10 scores that it was getting, and it's 7 out of 10 is a good score. It's not a bad score. I'm not saying the game's bad, but I have 8, 9, 10 out of 10 games in my backlog, So I don't necessarily have time to devote to a 7 out of 10 game when I can go back and play one of these games that is objectively considered in a better shape than Mass Effect Andromeda is currently.
Yeah. Especially for like someone like you that hasn't you haven't played any of the Mass Effect games, so you don't really have any.
Yeah, I don't have nostalgia like that.
Yeah, So it's I don't know. But anyways, fuck, I love Mass Effect. Whatever. Anyways,
So it's killing me.
Yeah, it hurts. I can go on for 20, 30 minutes about that, but I'm not going to. We don't have time. We have other things to talk about. So like I said earlier, for no reason, not a lot of news this week. So we are just going to be talking about. We got some topics here to discuss. All of them are video game related. I think I have there's a baker's dozen there, which is pretty cool. It's a good solid number. What we're gonna do is we're kind of go around circles. We're each gonna pick a topic, and we'll discuss it. And we'll just kind of keep going until we either run out of questions or we run out of time. So would any of you guys like to go first?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Let's see.
Okay.
One of these that jumped out at me. Let me think. Hold on, just a sec.
Okay.
I'm gonna grab the super obvious one, but it was the one that I thought of whenever this came up. Was if you could only play one gaming franchise for the rest of your life, what would that gaming franchise be? Your desert island franchise, if you will.
Okay. I think I'll answer this one first. The easy one, the obvious thing would be Madden for me, just because I put 200 hours into that game every year. But I don't want to do that. I'm gonna go away from the obvious. I think if it wasn't Madden, it would probably be Metal Gear Solid. If I can just take. Okay, so quick. This wasn't really in it when I typed in there, but are we talking future releases as well, or are we just talking what's currently out there? Should we do current games only?
Well, with Metal Gear, I feel like those two answers are the same.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, Survive could be really good, man.
It could be. I'm not holding out hope.
No. Yeah, okay. But yeah, I think my answer would be Metal Gear Solid. And people that have listened to the show for a long time know it's my favorite gaming franchise ever. But yeah, I've beaten Metal Gear Solid 1 15 times. Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 probably half dozen times each, and Metal Gear Solid 4 just the once. So I've been wanting to go back to the game forever, and I feel like Metal Gear Solid 5 alone, I could probably put 200 plus hours in that game, and still not see everything. Still only probably do everything once.
I have put over 200 hours into that game and still have not seen and done everything.
Wow. Okay, that's crazy. That's one of the games probably I put the most hours in. That's not Madden. I put close to 60 hours in that game. I
can actually pull that up on my Steam real quick. I can tell you exactly how many hours I've spent in that game. Go ahead and keep talking.
No, so that'd probably be mine. And plus, I never beat the original Metal Gears. I'm not gonna play Metal Gear 2 for NES because.
Mistaken. I have 163 hours in a Metal Gear Solid 5 so far.
Fucking slacker.
But I still have not done close to everything in that game.
Yeah, that game is amazing. But yeah, I never played the original Metal Gear game. I played them, but I never beat them. So I think it'd be fun to play through those games eventually too. I think that'll be my answer. Would just be the Metal Gear Solid franchise, Metal Gear franchise. I mean, sorry.
Cool. Gables, what is your Desert Island video game franchise?
Well, that's just the thing. I'm thinking about it. I have a bunch of games where I would consider to be just Desert Island sort of games. So if out of all the other ones, I would probably pick a Pokemon game. I'd probably pick either.
Well, you could take the entire franchise, not just.
Well, I could.
A single game.
I could, but the one I probably would pick would probably happen to be Pokemon Yellow. To be perfectly honest.
Oh, okay.
Why? Because it's the type of game where I could just easily go back to and just go through and play. I could spend a better part of 9 hours playing the game and then just put it down for quite a while, do whatever the hell I need to support the island or whatever the hell. Or I could go through and try to capture all the other stuff by using glitches, by using whatever type of things. And I probably would
Catch yourself an unknown.
catch myself an unknown. Or do like a bunch of Mewtwo tricks or what other type of things where you could just catch random Pokemon by doing a weird sequence inside the programming genetic stuff. The programmer.
I ruined
code.
my 90+ hour save file for Pokemon Blue back in the day by catching an unknown.
Oh man, I could have
Devastating.
I could have also said Pokemon Blue as well because it's like, man, I recently in the span of like a year or so ago when the Pokemon games came on eShop and stuff, I went through Pokemon Blue like within 9 hours or something like that because I knew what party members I wanted to play as. I purposely did not catch any more than I had to, and I went through and I beat every single trainer. Me and my party actually went through, got up to around the mid-50s to about the early 60s and stuff, and steamrolled through the Elite Four and the Champion and stuff. Yeah, I personally did not think I was going to take that long to beat it. And I actually kind of surprised myself, because normal Pokemon playthroughs for me is like 20+ hours, you know? But yeah, that's definitely a Desert Island game for me. That'd be the one, Pokemon Yellow.
Nice.
So,
what about you, Troy?
My Desert Island game, I kind of went back and forth through 3 during the course of listening to you guys talk. Like, initially I was thinking maybe a racing sim. Now it would probably be one of the Forza games. Even maybe Forza Horizon, something like that. But then I thought, well, that could maybe get stale. I mean, even, like, I love Forza. I love, doing countless laps around a track, especially real world tracks. Like, I mean, we're talking like the Nürburgring in Germany, Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca in Monterey, California. Like, I've done hundreds and thousands of laps around these tracks, and I could probably continue to do hundreds and thousands of laps around them. I mean, I have them memorized, but I think after a while that might get a little old. Another franchise that jumped into my head was the Grand Theft Auto franchise, which is also one of my all-time favorites. That one, you kind of get the benefit of having a sandbox. You just kind of screw around and do whatever the hell you want. You can be doing sick tricks or seeing how long you can survive with a 5-star wanted level, or a bunch of different stuff like that, which would kind of be cool. Kind of the oysters. The world is your oyster, and you can do whatever you want. But I think my answer would actually be XCOM.
Oh wow.
I feel like that turn-based tactical strategy, kind of different ways of playing, especially if you go back to the classic XCOM, where like you can literally set up your bases anywhere you want, and you're micromanaging, economy and all that stuff. I think something like that would be something that could definitely keep me busy for many, many hours. And yeah, I would probably get a lot of enjoyment out of that. So that's where I think I land, is on the XCOM franchise, would be my Desert Island video game franchise.
Wow. That's cool. I like those games, but they're a little too deep for me. Like,
yeah, especially the original ones. Like, I mean, they're like these newest ones simplified the XCOM formula down quite a bit as opposed to the original XCOM games. But also on top of that leaves me just picking the XCOM franchise. That leaves me with no less than like 6 or 7 different versions of the game that I can dive into, that will each have probably hundreds of hours of entertainment in them.
Yeah. So the XCOM game for 360 was simpler than the other ones?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The original XCOM games on the
shit.
PC were super in-depth, and we were talking about the original XCOM UFO Defense, then they did XCOM Terror from the Deep, which is basically like underwater in the oceans and stuff like that, which is pretty dope. They had an XCOM Interceptors game, which I never actually played, but I mean, that ostensibly has like aerial combat as the focus. Yeah, like that. The original XCOM is like super in-depth. You definitely get to micromanage the economy and your research and your bases. Like, you're building out bases literally, like you pick which square the hangar goes in, you pick which square your laboratories go in. Like it was definitely simplified when they brought it to consoles with the newer generation, the last 2 XCOM games. Those original games were super in depth.
Damn. I played XCOM 1 on 360, and that game was a little too difficult for me.
Yeah, no, and yeah, they simplified it a lot.
That's okay. Wow. Okay, I'm glad that's a franchise I never got into then. Gables, do you want to pick the next topic?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So my question is, what triggered you into getting into retro gaming? Retro game collecting more specifically. So, pretty much this question's kind of like a kind of only appealing towards myself and possibly Troy and stuff, since Tyler doesn't really keep a lot of like legacy games and stuff. But
hey, I have Battleborn that came out last May.
That's retro AF.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway, for myself, I mainly went into retro gaming pretty young, and that was around when I was like 13. I started to collect random older consoles that I liked. I had inherited my older brother's Sega Genesis console. I had a couple games with that, which was just basically both the NBA Jam games and stuff. So periodically, as I was getting older, going through high school, I started collecting things. Like, got an NES, I got like a Super Nintendo. I found an actual working Super Nintendo from a pawn shop around 2003, 2004 that had like Street Fighter 2 and all this other shit. And yeah, as progressively I went on and stuff, I started to understand that the reasoning why I started to get into it was I loved the idea of having a bunch of options, hearing from a bunch of older gamers that there are specific consoles that people loved to play back in the day, like, say, the Nintendo Entertainment System, or the Sega Dreamcast, or this and that. At one point, I did have a bunch of variety of consoles and stuff, but because either I had to move, I had to get rid of some stuff and subsidize and stuff, but I really just like the idea of just playing an old console on the original system, having it connected to my TV and stuff, and just enjoy something that, you know, probably would not have played otherwise if it originally came out. So, as it is currently, I have a couple of decent games thing for like PS1. I got a bunch for PS2. I don't have any PS3 games anymore because I got rid of the PS3 like a couple of years ago, now that I think about it. But I have my NES, Super Nintendo. I have my Fire N64, which that's one of my key things in my collection. I have my big old. Literally, it's supposed to be Fire Red or something like that, but it's more of an orange sort of N64 console controller and stuff like that. I love that because I hear that that's probably one of the rare type of models to get. From the colored scheme things, one of the commons, like the kind of like the Arctic Blue or one of the mango kind of colored ones. But let's see, I have my Game Boy Pocket, my Game Boy Color. I did own a PSP at one point, had a bunch of games for it, but because of the UMD stuff, I really just didn't want to deal with a lot of the collection stuff. So I ended up getting rid of that and traded everything in towards a Vita, which, hey, I still have a Vita and a slew of games, and I played the hell out of that when
the original dog face system.
Yeah, pretty much. The PSP was sort of a dog face system. But oh boy, there's just a bunch of things that I've collected, from retro games to retro consoles, and just going through the past couple weeks, talking with one of my supervisors that works with the online things for Goodwill and stuff. She was actually kind of interested in like some of the knowledge that I had for my dabbings and sort of video game collecting stuff, because she knows a lot about like some of the online, a lot of the other merchandise stuff, but not so much video gaming. She actually showed me this entire complete list that she printed off like a couple of years ago in 2015, where she had all these gaming systems and all the prices of specific games and stuff. And I named a few off the top of my head, which I knew, which were like things which were right almost at the top of the lists that she had and stuff. So it's like, that kind of got me into looking into the prices of certain retro games, and all of a sudden it's like in the past couple of weeks and stuff, I really wanted to see if I could get myself another Sega Saturn or get myself a Dreamcast or something like that, and start expanding, because those are the two consoles that I used to have that I don't have because of one reason, and that's finding games for the systems themselves at a cheap and affordable price. There are for both the Saturn and the Dreamcast, but if you want some of the higher end games in sort of the Sega Dreamcast, well, not just the Sega Dreamcast, but the Saturn I was referring to, some of the higher cost games, let's say Panzer Dragoon Saga, which I've checked earlier on today, there are some listings that go for $500 for just that one game. Yeah. It just brings back a lot of like good nostalgia stuff, but originally what got me into just doing the whole retro game collecting is having a bunch of options, trying a bunch of different games I wouldn't have not done when they originally released. And pretty much I just want to have as much enjoyment just collecting old stuff that I like. I've always been a collector of something. You know, if it was toys, it was video games, it was like movies, TV shows. Hell, I got a complete collection here of like Naruto manga that I collected since like 2005, and I have like 73 novels on my bookshelf right now. Oh, that's just me in a nutshell, but...
So before we move on, though, let's roll this in. We'll do a 2-point B on this one. What retro console do you want the most? That should be a quick one.
Okay.
Gables, tell us.
Right now, I actually want the Sega Dreamcast. Why do I want it? It's like Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That's a great game. Soul Calibur. Great game in and of itself. Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. Even though they've had ports on the PC and on the GameCube versions, those ports were actually not the best in terms of what the Dreamcast versions had originally. So I really want to play those games. I want to also play games like Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, all those old classics that I missed out on when it released. Because that's the thing about the Dreamcast. It was only out for like about a year and a half before it bombed. So, yeah, that's mine. What about yours?
Cool. So I'm going to go through and answer the first part. What triggered me into retro collecting? I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily directly a retro collector. I have the issue of I don't like to get rid of things once I have them. So I have 2 PlayStation 3s. I have 2 PlayStation Vitas. I have 2 3DSs. So we get going back further. I had 2 PSPs that I ended up getting rid of. One because I traded it in to get my Vita because I got a $100 credit on my Vita on launch day to get that. And the second one because I gave it to my stepson when he was moving away to Italy so that he had something to play. So that's the reason why I don't have a PSP. I've actually recently been thinking about going back and getting the PSP Go. Because I really want to play a lot of the Metal Gear Acid games I've been craving to play lately, and also Valkyria Chronicles 3, which was only available in Japan. They actually have a English language patch that you can patch into that game, so I was thinking of getting a PSP to download that game and then patching it, rather than doing the whole pirating. You know, I could probably pirate it and emulate it, but I don't really want to do that. I want to pay for the game through the Japanese PSN store, download it and do whatever mods I need to be able to play it in English. I have my Game Boy Advance SP, which is really dope. I have my GameCube. I have an N64. I have the Wii. I have the Wii U. I have a Sega Dreamcast. That's awesome. Definitely an awesome system for me to own. I'm trying to think back. I think that might be close to it. There might be 1 or 2 that I'm missing. But I'm not necessarily drawn to go back and get like a Super Nintendo. I think it would be pretty dope to have one. But my big draw for retro gaming is just being able to play a lot of those games that I missed out on. Yeah. And fortunately, there's a lot more options nowadays to go back and play, like Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger and all these great games from the past that I missed out on. So there's less of a draw for me to go and find those consoles, just as long as I can play those games, you know, that I missed out from the past. My biggest issue is I don't like to get rid of things once I have them. So, you know, like I'm reluctant to go and get rid of even one of my PS3s. You know, like I'll have it till it dies. And one of them is probably literally on its last legs. And every time I turn it on, it's a ticking time bomb. But like my draw is not necessarily the collecting of the retro consoles, but I mean, it's cool to have those consoles. Every few months I do go down the rabbit hole of searching eBay for, you know, some of the Dreamcast games that I'm missing, you know, just because it'd be totally dope to have them. There's actually a guy who has created a a solid drive that basically replaces the disk drive in the Dreamcast, so you can use an SD card and it'll load games off the SD card, so you can rip the ISOs from the games that you own, and you can put them on this SD card. Because the thing about the Dreamcast, the drive on it, especially if a lot of people, because the discs are real similar to CD-ROMs, but they're not CD-ROMs. So a lot of people will burn the discs onto CD-ROMs. But something about the way the CD-ROMs work, it actually screws with the laser on the Dreamcast, and eventually the drive's just gonna stop working. So it's basically like a ticking time bomb in and of itself. So the idea that somebody's gone and made something so you can use physical flash media to hold all your Dreamcast games is a really cool concept. It's kind of expensive, but it's something that I've kind of looked into. Is like, this would be a really cool thing to have. That way you still have the original shell of the Dreamcast, and you're able to play all the Dreamcast games on the original system, but maybe you can work around the fact that the disk drive itself is kind of a weak point in that system. I love having, my N64. I think the only games I currently own on it are GoldenEye and Mario 64. But, it's cool to have, and if I ever feel like hooking them up and playing them, that's really cool to have that option. But I also like the fact that I have the Rare Replay on the Xbox One, so I can go back and play Banjo-Kazooie and all those games and not have to worry about trying to find a physical copy of them. So it's not necessarily the retro game collecting itself that's really the draw for me. It's the fact that I am able to go back and play all these games that I missed out on. And I'm fortunate enough to have, like, the PlayStation Vita has such a huge library available to it through PS1 Classics and stuff, things that I can download and play on my Vita on the go. All these great games like the Final Fantasy games that I never actually played when I was younger that I can now go back and revisit. So I'm really thankful for that. I may or may not increase my retro console collection, just depending on what, comes around. But just the idea that I can play all those old games is really the draw for me. If I did, though, had to pick a retro console that I want the most, it would either be the PSP Go, which I've been kind of looking into trying to get my hands on, or a Game Boy Micro.
Oh yeah, I've actually held one of those things. Those were not too bad. My little brother, because he's such he always loves his little Nintendo systems and stuff like that, so I actually had a chance to check out the Game Boy Micro and stuff, and the thing is really cool, but at the same time, it's like, because I'm kind of farsighted and stuff, it's really hard to concentrate on anything on the device itself.
Yeah. It's such a cool concept, though, to have such a small little device. I mean, it's barely bigger than the Game Boy Advance cartridges that plays, like, it's insane that all that comes in such a small package. So those are the two things that I'd probably go after.
Say it's the only thing big that's smaller than the Joy-Con.
There you go.
Well, that's very true too. Another system that I've thought about maybe delving into really much was like the TurboGrafx 16, because I've never actually got a chance to play some of those. I mean, hell, you had the game things on Hue cards and stuff, which kind of fascinates me that there's games on those actual little, like, those interchangeable little cards that you just, like, slide into the system and stuff like that, and all of a sudden it's like you could play games like, say, Bonk's Adventure, or Bomberman 94, or maybe Dungeon Explorer if you really wanted to, or even Devil's Crush. I mean, Devil's Crush is a great game. I remember playing that for the Virtual Console and stuff, but yeah, it's just stuff like that that just fascinates me. Some of the old history from it.
Tyler, do you have an answer for either of these questions?
What is the Virtual Boy?
What is the Virtual Boy?
Yeah,
like,
no real reason.
That's your Jeopardy answer, or what?
Yeah, it's either that or the Jaguar. I just want the shittiest console ever made. It's one of those two.
I think that would be the Apple Pippin, now that I think about it, but at the same place.
There were a lot of real sketchy consoles that came out in the early 90s when everybody was trying to get their hands on the console market.
That's true. There's probably some cereal company out there that made a video game console I'll probably get.
I think one of the shittier consoles, now that I think about it, probably is either the Atari Jaguar or possibly even, I'm trying to think here, maybe the Panasonic 3DO. Now that I think about it.
Oh, no way.
The Philips CDI, that's another one that's pretty rough.
Possibly too. I mean, I'm thinking...
If I want the shittiest console I made, I'll just get the Wii. I'm sorry.
Oh, man. It's also the best-selling console ever made.
Well, I'll tell you
what. No, never mind. The PlayStation 2, I think, is actually the best-selling console ever made.
Yeah, it's like number 2.
Yeah, it actually is. The PS2, then you had the Wii and stuff like that. But unless it's not like, say, like the... Oh, God. What was that? I think the Panasonic 3DO, which actually... Believe it or not,
The
they had some
$800
softcore
console?
porn games on there.
There you go. Oh, Sega CD was the same, right? They had like was it Night
Plumbers
Trap?
Do Wear Ties.
Night Trap was one of those things, though. But I'm talking about. I've actually seen some of these on YouTube too, where it's like there were Panasonic 3DO games because, well, that were kind of softcore porn stuff because they didn't have like tied. Like, I think it's because they didn't have like tied license stuff or something on some of these games, so that anybody can make their own pretty like type of game to put on the system itself. And so it's hilarious because you'll actually see like these FMVs and stuff like that of like certain like softcore porn sort of like games being put on there, and their direct purpose was just to go through and watch them, kind of like how you would say pornographic like VHS tapes and this, but it was just, it's kind of like before the DVD thing started like going and becoming popular. It's really funny just
There
seeing
you go.
shit like that.
Cool. Tyler, next
Very cool.
question.
All right, I've been looking here. So
You had plenty of time to look.
yeah, I had a few in my head. You know what? I'm gonna just pick one here. So if you can go, you get the little flashy light thing from Men in Black. For you kids that don't know, there was a trilogy called Men in Black, and a thing that can erase your memory back to a certain point. They get to pick the time. So if you can erase one video game out of your memory and play it over again for the first time, what game would it be? If you guys need a minute, I can go first.
Go first.
I have an answer.
Okay, go ahead.
I would go with your Desert Island game. I would go with Metal Gear.
Oh, nice.
I have played all of the games at this point, and once, just like you, it's pretty much my all-time favorite video game franchise. The problem is that there's not a whole lot of replayability in that, and once you kind of delve deep into the Metal Gear lore, like I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on, the entire lore is as crazy convoluted as it is of Metal Gear. Once you know that knowledge, you can't take it back. And so if I could, I would probably erase my memory and go back and start Metal Gear all over again, and just to experience all that craziness over again, not knowing what I know now.
Yeah. It's all nano machines, man.
The nano machines are what's going to erase my memory so that I can go back.
There you go. What about you, Gables? Do you have one, or do you want me to go?
Go ahead and go next, Tyler.
Okay. So for me, for the longest time, for nearly a decade, it would have been the Mass Effect. Just playing the first one over again.
Now it's just Andromeda, right?
Yeah. If I could just erase the fact that there's ever a fourth Mass Effect game, that'd be great. But my answer, I think, now would actually be, and this one's really recent. It's a game that came out a few months ago. I'd love to play Last Guardian again.
Huh.
To experience that story and those characters, and just the dealing with the 9 years of hype and hoping and wishing and thinking it was gone, and then it's here, and then it got delayed again, then it got delayed one more time. If I could just go back to that day when I came home from work and the box was sitting on my front porch and I had the statue, and I'm like, okay, it's in my hand. Is this game good? And then to play it again for the first time and experience that story and those characters and that world and that environment over again, that's I would love to.
You wouldn't want to erase the 9 years of waiting and hype. You'd literally
No.
just go back to the moment that you started playing it.
Yes, because I think the 9 years of waiting and hype is what made the impact of that game being so good, to me anyways, being one of the best games of all time to me, is what makes that what it is. I think all the 9 years of frustration and everything is what makes that it makes it more important to me than it would be otherwise.
Cool.
Yeah. So Gables, you?
I've nailed it down to 3. I'm just going to name the one that I feel probably would be the most impactful here. I would say Chrono Trigger.
Oh, okay.
Well, why?
Your favorite game of all time?
Well, yeah, it is, actually. It's one of my favorites of all time and stuff. That's the thing, Troy. We went through so much of, our top games of all time during one podcast.
Top 30 list.
Yeah, our top 30 list and stuff. It literally took me about a few weeks just to get things labeled down because I had listed literally almost over 300 or 400 games.
Yeah.
But anyway, the reason why I say Chrono Trigger, it's because, in my honest opinion, it's a total package of what a masterpiece of a video game should be. It has great story, has great gameplay, it has good development, Art style's fantastic. Musical score fits well with the environments in terms of events that go on and stuff. There are little bits of mystery and intrigue that where you're going through. There are different types of options to play through this game. You could technically go to the final boss from the first couple hours of the game and stuff like that, and just go and try to beat him and stuff. Let alone you die a couple dozen times though. But the option that you can actually go to the final boss and that far in and stuff kind of is intriguing to me in that certain point right there for an epic RPG. But it's just the fact that you go through and you have characters like Chrono, like characters like Frog and stuff like that, and Merle and like Luca and stuff, and Robo and stuff, going through learning all these different types of techniques and using all these combo moves and stuff on enemies and stuff. It is also one of those first RPGs what I really got into around, I would kid you not, I think I did a full playthrough of this back around 2010, maybe 2009. It was around the time the DS version came out, because I never played it through on the original Super Nintendo. But I have that cart now, and I could very well do that if I wanted to. But, yeah, just going through that game and just learning a bunch of the techniques and how just engrossing the game was. And it did exactly what very few games do to me whenever I hear a great musical score and stuff. I just leave the game on pause or on standby, and I just go in, I just listen to the music. Because it's so engrossing, it's memorable, and it's just fantastic in terms of that type of appeal for my honest things. But if I were to just go through and just erase my memory of that game and play it through for the first time today, I would probably feel the same way that I would about it as, say, some other games that I've played in the past, like Castlevania, like Persona 4, like all this other stuff. So yeah, Chrono Trigger would be mine.
Very cool. Troy, it's your turn to pick.
My turn to pick. I'm going to go with, if you had to name your next pet after a video game character, what would you pick?
Ooh.
Master Chief. Goddamn Master Chief, you urinated everywhere. Nah. But really.
but seriously, though.
Oh.
Anybody have an idea?
When I got my dog, Louie, about a year and a half ago, my parents gave it to me for Christmas. I actually wanted to name him. I had two names in mind, either Ganon or Captain Toad, and both are vetoed. So if I had to pick one, it would probably be Captain Toad or Ganon.
Your parents reserved naming rights? That's kind of messed up.
I know, right? They had. I don't know. I must have given him veto power. I don't know. It was an emotional moment.
The family dog.
I probably fucked up. I gave him too much power.
So my wife and I kind of have a running joke. So her originally, she went through probably 3 or 4 dogs as she was growing up, and they were all named CocoaBella. And that is regardless of whether it was a male dog, a female dog, just every dog she had was named CocoaBella.
Transgender dog.
And then we kind of have this running joke where we're like, oh, we're going to name our kid CocoaBella. And I was like, no, if it's a boy, we can't name our kid CocoaBella. And she's like, okay, we'll name him CocoaBellaJackBauer. And I'm like, okay, Jack Bauer. All right, whatever. And then it's become CocoaBellaJackBauerSolidSnake. And so at this point, rather than name our actual human child CocoaBellaJackBauerSolidSnake, we're probably would probably be more likely to name our next pet CocoaBellaJackBauerSolidSnake. So that would be where that would come from. It would be her original dog name plus Jack Bauer from 24 plus Solid Snake, who is one of my very all-time favorite video game characters.
You should name your kid David Hayter.
My dad's name is David, so I can just say I just named it after him.
There you go.
And then his middle name is Hater. That would just be messed up.
A little bit.
Little David Hater Starrett.
Oh my god. CocoaBellaSolidSnake.
Yeah, CocoaBellaJackBauerSolidSnake.
CocoaBellaJackBauerSolidSnake. Got it.
Well, you know what, if I had to name a pet based upon a video game character or something like that my parents wouldn't cringe over, I would probably name it Rex. You know, like from Mass Effect and stuff like that, because it's...
Oh, okay.
Or Metal Gear.
Or Metal Gear, yeah, there you go. Metal Gear Rex, or something like that. But, it's either that, or just name it Garrus. Damn it, Garrus! You're taking a poop on the floor again!
I actually contemplated naming my dog Rex because he does resemble Metal Gear Rex. Because when he sits there and his ears are like limp, so they stick out from the side of his head, and then they kind of like angle down like Metal Gear Rex would. Actually, what really reminded me of that was Gear Rex, which was so in Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, which was basically Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker was basically a clone of Monster Hunter. To the point that there are secret missions in Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker where you are actually literally doing Monster Hunter missions. They've got the felines, and you're fighting these creatures, and one of the creatures is Gear Rex, which is a giant Tyrannosaurus dinosaur-looking thing that basically is modeled after Metal Gear Rex. And so he's got the little hanging things off of the side of his head, which basically represent the hanging part of Metal Gear Rex. And so whenever my dog would look at me straight ahead with his ears kind of flopped down, he looked just like Metal Gear Rex. So I was going to actually want to name him Rex.
That's awesome. Or of course I can just go down to the default like CocoaBella. Like
CocoaBellaJackBauerSolidSnake.
Yeah, there you go. I had to say that once to my parents when we ever get a new animal or something and see what their reactions are. CocoaBellaJackBauerSolidSnake.
If you named your child that, would it be like hyphenated, or would it just all be like one word?
No,
it would have to be.
It would have to be all words.
All one
He's
word.
got literally 5 names with this child. He's going to be...
It's all intercap though. Like you have to, like if you were making a hashtag and you were like capitalizing the first letter of each word, it would be the same thing, just all one word.
There you go. Okay.
CBJBSS.
There you go. Does that exhaust our pet naming after video game characters question?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
I think CocoaBellaJackBauerSolidSnake takes the cake on that one.
That is a winner.
Gables, your turn.
Okay, now let's see. I'm just looking up on the list right now. What in the world could I possibly go through here? Video game weaknesses.
Ooh.
Okay. So let's see here. Weaknesses and pertains to what precisely? Like,
when I type the question is as far as like, when you like say you watch a trailer for a game, like something that kind of like it kind of tickles your fancy. It's like, I'm sold. All right, that's all I need to see. Like it could be like a minor thing, could be a big thing. I don't know. It could be a genre in particular. Could be something about the game. That's kind of what I had when I typed the question.
Okay, so in that case, there are a couple weaknesses that I personally have experienced while trying to play video games. And here's a good example. Like earlier on last week, I tried playing Resident Evil 6. I went through the first chapter of that, and the first thing that struck me as a weakness for a video game is boring. Just boredom in general, especially like an action type of things. What?
I meant your own personal like weakness, like what makes you want to buy a game.
Oh,
like when you watch, like something that like it caters towards you, like
Well, I pretty much missed that from the mark. Well, anyway, what makes me want to buy a video game for exactly when I want to and stuff is if it appeals to me like on a good like a good basis level, you know, like if it's something that I already know that I'm going to like, I'm more than likely going to buy it. Like if it's like a 3D platformer that has like various type of level design, things I'm familiar with, like say for example Yooka-Laylee. It's more similar to Banjo-Kazooie. I like Banjo-Kazooie. It's one of my favorite games in the N64, so of course I'm going to buy Yooka-Laylee. Another thing I like is if it's something that is completely new and fascinating that sort of reminds me of like good adventure games or something like that, like Horizon Zero Dawn, like what Tyler's played. I definitely do want to play that at one point. Let's see. Oh boy. Another weakness that I would have is if there's like a video game sale or something like that, and if there's a good game or something that I know that I can get for cheap, like $20 or $15, where it's like $40 or something, I will jump on that, especially if it's a game sort of like Doom, where I didn't buy it full $60. I got it for like about $20 or something for the PS4 back when that game was going on sale like during the summer. Well, definitely those sales stuff. Hell, even like the PSN flash sales on the PS4 sometimes I may like delve into from time to time. Because some of them can be discounted pretty severely too. Like I got Knack for like about $5 or something like that. It's like, hey, you know what? I know this game is shit in comparison to some other people's opinions and stuff, but I have an interest in wanting to play this, so $5 is a good entry point.
And it's probably worth $5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
So
thing.
I picked up Watch Dogs for $10. I was like, yeah, this kind of got panned, but for $10, I bet it's worth $10.
I bet so.
Watch Dogs is an okay game.
It was okay. It was worth $10.
Yeah. It wasn't worth 60 when I paid for it.
Well, and so far, you know, it's Knack is a lot more exciting than say playing through the first chapter of Resident Evil 6. So it's worth my $5.
There you go.
So that's pretty much what I look for.
So my video game weakness, I like to have my games grounded in reality. I've come to the realization that I guess my imagination is not what it used to be, and so I'm not necessarily usually drawn in by like fantasy style games or games that have kind of fantastical origins. I think of some of my favorite games. I like simulation racing. Originally, I was huge into flight simulators, and we're talking like actual like Falcon 3.0 was my favorite flight simulator back in the day, which was like super hyper realistic. I mean, the manual for that game was probably thicker than the King James Bible, just freaking massive.
You go through the different sequences or something, or like
insane, yeah. Like I mean, you're running your landing gear, your ILS. I mean, like I probably would have fared all right trying to pilot an actual F-16 back in the day. I probably lost most of that knowledge now, and I wouldn't even attempt it now. But like that kind of stuff gets me. We're talking like Metal Gear. Like even though Metal Gear is like crazy fantastical, it definitely has some grounding in reality. A lot of military, and then I mean they've even gone as far as retconning a lot of the fantasy out of it, and explaining it away with nanomachines and stuff like that. So I just tend to be more drawn to games that have more of a grounding in reality. If you look at like Destiny never really appealed to me. Like the fantastical setting, the sci-fi setting wasn't anything that was big on me. However, The Division, when it first came out, was something that totally intrigued me because this is more, it's almost the same game but grounded in reality. Of course, I never played that game, and I actually have no intention of playing that game anymore, but that was definitely the Destiny game that had my interest. The Ghost Recon game that just came out, similarly. I feel like those games... Yeah, I feel like those games fall short on my criteria for being a good quality game, and therefore I may or may not ever play them, but the premises of them being grounded in reality have made them more appealing than other games that may be a higher quality game, but I just can't see myself playing them. That's probably a lot of the reason why I haven't played the Mass Effect games, because like as much as I like the story and everything, which I hear is amazing, sci-fi is just not my favorite genre. So like my weakness is I feel like most of the things that I attach onto have to be at least somewhat grounded in reality.
Okay. Well then for me, mine's probably indie games with the unique art style.
That's a good one.
If you guys, if anybody listened to our podcast, especially the last like half of 2016, I bought a shit ton of like indie games that were like had these really cool looking art styles. And Unraveled was one that I mean, like Justin, that was his number 2 game of the year, which is still bullshit. Fuck you, Justin. Fuck you. That's fake news.
Everyone goes to Rapture. Oh god.
Everybody goes to Rapture. Yeah. There's just one game like Out All Night that like I watched a trailer and it was like this crazy music and art, and I'm like in. And that game was, I played that game for 45 minutes, and it was one of the worst games I've ever played in my entire life.
The Letter.
What?
The Letter.
The Letter, yeah. Fuck that game.
That Wii U game that you
it is
could complete and beat within the span of an hour.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few out there that and it's very much hit or miss. Hyper Light Drifter, oh man, that game is fucking the Zelda Souls basically. That game is fantastic. That art style got me right away. But that's mine. Easily, I feel like though it's hit more than it's missed. I'm looking at games like Braid, Journey, Limbo, things like that. The highs are definitely better than the lows, but that is definitely mine. Luckily, these games are like usually $15 to $30 instead of $60 titles.
Have you ever played?
That is mine.
Have you ever played Counter Spy?
No, I haven't, but I think was it a PS Plus game? Because I think I have it.
I don't know if it was PS Plus. I actually got it when it came out. I actually won it in a GameSpot giveaway. But that's a game. That's an indie game that has a tremendous art style. The guy who did the art in that game actually worked on The Incredibles, the Disney movie. And you can definitely tell the influence is there, like, from the start. But the premise is, like, you're like this spy who's going in to try and infiltrate both the U.S. and the Soviet Union because they're in this race to blow up the moon for some strange reason, and you're in there trying to steal their plans and thwart their efforts to have this arms race to blow up the moon. It's procedurally generated, but it's really cool, kind of stealth, sneaking around these levels. Great art style, great comedy. It's really actually super dope.
Is the main character like a girl with blonde hair?
No. It's you're kind of nondescript. I mean, I think it's a guy, but you can't really tell because like his face is obscured and everything like that. It's a really good game, and it'll probably pop up on some PSN sale here or there. I definitely recommend checking that out if you get a chance.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's a weakness of mine. So, yeah, that's my answer. But I think we're gonna do one more. Then we're gonna call it a show.
One last question. Make it a good one.
Oh man, don't put that pressure on me. I can't handle the pressure. Okay, worst video game cliche. So kind of going along, what's something that you see in a game that it's an instant turn off, or something in a game that even you do like that you hate that it's there?
Oh,
okay. Towers. Climbing towers to unlock the map. I think that's been super overdone of late. I mean, Zelda has it.
Fuck you, Ubisoft.
I think Zelda's probably the best or least egregious in the fact that, yeah, it unlocks the map, but it doesn't give you like a million little checkpoints and things to do once it does that. Like, it's up to you to go and look around you physically and see what catches your interest and maybe set some checkpoints for yourself. But I feel like that's been overdone. And yeah, Ubisoft is definitely the origin of that. I mean, to the point that like when you played, what's the driving game?
The Run?
No,
not The Run.
What was it? The freaking Ubisoft driving.
They go across the world like two other.
Yeah, all the way across the country.
Hours.
Anyway, like that had freaking towers, like that you had to use to unlock the map. That's ridiculous for a driving game to basically have towers. So yeah, that's the cliche that I would destroy if given the opportunity.
Okay. Gables, do you have one, or do you want me to go?
Oh, you know what? I think I'll go for this one because when you play like enough like Japanese RPGs, there's all these cliches that just come forth if you play enough of them. One of them is like if you're the chosen one, like foreseen in a prophecy and stuff like that. Like an ancient evil comes out every every 100 years or something like that, or it's been dormant or something for 1,000 or something like that. It's big.
So you hate Zelda?
Well, no. I didn't say I hate Zelda. I say I hate the cliche of, oh, hey, you're the chosen one that has to go and fight this ancient evil or something like that. Oh, here's one of my favorite ones. It's when, like, the main protagonist's, like, village or home is destroyed or something by, like, some sort of enemies or something like that, and you have to go out and just try to defeat, like, the bad guy or something like that. Or here's one, and this is probably the most cliched RPG mechanic. Amnesia. The main character loses their memory. And they have to go through and learn, and, like, go and find out, meet different people in order to recover their memory. I mean, that's just...
Man, you're really going to hate Breath of the Wild, then.
You know what?
You just described Breath of the Wild.
Check. Yep. Uh-huh. Yep, that's there, too. Check. And towers.
Dude, I like how just symbolically I'm just naming a bunch of RPG cliches that I've gone through by playing RPGs, and all of a sudden I just accidentally just nail a bunch of the points from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Also, the crew is the game.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
Okay.
Yep, the crew. So to continue on with the Breath of the Wild hate. I really hate.
We're all finding ways to make Breath of the Wild full of all of the worst gaming cliches, even though it's shaping up to be one of the best games of all time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes. But a broad one for me is that every game nowadays has to be open world.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
a bad one there.
Yeah, it's worked out sometimes, with Horizon and then Metal Gear Solid 5. I was really concerned about Metal Gear Solid 5 being open world. That obviously was fantastic. But to kind of more narrow it down to one thing, inventory management.
Yeah.
And it's a big turnoff
That's
why I don't
another
like
one.
Bethesda games, which you spend a lot of time, in Breath of the Wild dealing with the inventory screen. I hate that. And No Man's Sky. That was a
Breakable
one of
weapons.
the biggest turnoffs to No Man's Sky for me was you spent more time dealing with your inventory screen than you were actually playing the game. So
That's a good one.
that'd probably be mine. Yeah. Fuck No Man's Sky.
Did you hear me?
And,
Did you hear me
also-
throw in the breakable weapons into cliches that probably need to go away?
Yes, like that's what's crazy about Breath of the Wild. There's like we just
It's
like,
got
all of
so
our-
many marks against it.
Yeah, and we still like it. It's fucking weird, man. Literally everything we just said about worst game cliche they do, and we still like
Well,
that game,
right?
So.
Well, to defend it from this point and stuff like that, it pretty much has done it in such a way where it's not as obtrusive or not as, like, say, recognizable. For example, if you're getting enough weapons or something that throughout defeating enemies and stuff, that kind of neutralizes the whole, oh, hey, they're breakable weapons and this and so forth and stuff like that. And if the main character has amnesia or something, they put it in a way where it's actually kind of interesting and not sort of a bland mechanic that'll just play in later on. There's
always exceptions to the
there's
rules.
a catch-42. There's always an exception. There's always a exception to the rules, but
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So
Long
you
story
guys have
short,
figured
Zelda
out-
is the best game ever made with all the worst cliches in video game history.
Yes. Yeah. Words right out of my mouth. Yep. But yeah, that is going to be the show for the week. Hi, Louie.
That worked out
Sorry about
super
that.
well.
yeah, it did.
Yeah. Yeah. We all found out we hate Breath of the Wild. So Justin's so pissed off us right now.
We
so
love
fine.
to hate him.
He's rolling in his grave.
Just kidding.
I wish he was here right now. Actually, I would have a black eye right now if he was here. Especially with the Wii comment earlier. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to us this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of a different show. Now my cat's in here. What the fuck? Go away, Tony.
He's got it. He's got a menagerie.
Yeah. So anyways, like I said, thank you guys so much for listening. If you want to hear more from us, we're on Facebook. We have a page and group. It is Drunk-Nerds on there. On Twitter, we are Drunk Nerds Pod, so follow us on there. On YouTube, we are Drunk-Nerds, so subscribe. And on Twitch, it is Drunk Nerds Podcast. I had to look at that one for a second. Follow us on there. Did I get it?
Yes.
Did I get it? Because I had no help at all there.
Yeah.
That's 2 weeks in a row I got it, guys.
Follow the ginger.
We're getting there, guys. Getting there. So anyways, like I said, thank you guys so much for listening. I was your host. I was Tyler.
I'm Troy.
And this has been Colonel Gables. So until next week, everyone, stay safe, happy gaming, and get yourself a fucking Switch. What the hell are you doing?
And-
Come on.
Get yourself a glass screen protector for that Switch.
Yeah.
And don't drink and drive.
Definitely don't drink and drive.
Yeah, it's bad. Drink and driving is bad.
Okay.
Because that's
Bye.
no good. Anyway.
Sexual harassment. Panda.
See you, everyone. Episode 200 incoming next week.
Holy shit.
Excuse me. Few too many beers there. Anyways, we're on iTunes now, so go on there, check us out, and if you like us, leave us a review, and we'll even shout you out. And Jack will send you his credit card number.